is to send us a message on the mobile number, which also appears at the bottom of the screen. On this show, we get numerous questions, and I'm able to deal with the vast majority of questions live on air. Now, if it transpires that your matter is quite complex, or I need to look at documents before I can advise you properly, then I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room, then I'll have that more thorough discussion with you off air. But the vast majority of questions that come in, I am able to deal with them live on air. So please do get in touch, either on the landline number or by sending a message in on that mobile number. That message will come through to me here live on air, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you have. Now, inshallah, we've had a number of questions coming in. Let's look at some of the questions that have been coming in. The first question that's come in is from Brother Farhan. And what he says is as follows. Assalamu alaikum. I have overstayed in the United Kingdom. However, I have had an Islamic marriage with my wife, who is a UK citizen. And that was about a year ago. I am now thinking of going back to my home country and applying for a visa from there. Will I have any problems because of my overstaying in the United Kingdom? Farhan, thank you very much for that question. Very popular question in practice as well. The reality is this, that if you've overstayed in the United Kingdom, then overstaying in itself won't cause you any problems. You will be able to apply for a visa and return to the United Kingdom. However, there may be certain circumstances in which overstaying might be a problem. So, for example, if you've overstayed and you've been caught working, or you've used multiple identities in the United Kingdom in making applications. So if there are aggravating circumstances, then it could be a problem. But where it's a simple case of overstaying in the United Kingdom, it doesn't matter how long the overstaying was. If it's just a simple case of overstaying, then if you were to go back to your home country and make an application to come back to the United Kingdom from there, the overstaying won't be an issue. Now, obviously, there are requirements that you will need to fulfill if you're making the application from abroad. For example, the financial requirement, for example, the English language requirement, for example, to demonstrate that this relationship is genuine and subsisting. All those requirements obviously will have to be fulfilled. The standard requirements that you have to fulfill, you will have to do. But Farhan, in terms of your overstaying in the United Kingdom, that won't be a problem. As I've said, it's only where, coupled with overstaying, there are other aggravating circumstances that you will have a problem in coming back to the United Kingdom. Now, Farhan, just on that, I'll just touch upon one more point for the benefit of our viewers before I move on. And that is this, that if you've overstayed and you're in a relationship, and I think you've said you entered into an Islamic marriage about a year ago, then a lot of people are in the situation that you're in, that they've overstayed for whatever reason. They are now in a relationship. Now, in that situation, if your wife was to have a baby, and your wife being British, your child would be a British citizen, then you would be able to apply to remain in the United Kingdom based on that child. So in terms of overstaying, there is a way of successfully applying for a visa to stay in the UK. But that's where, from the relationship, you have a child that is British. Then you can make an application which will be successful based on your British child. Other than that, and I think in your situation, from what you're saying, is that there's no child as such, then in that situation, it would be better if you are able to fulfill the other requirements it would be better to simply go back to your home country and apply from there and then come back to the United Kingdom. That would certainly make sense. But Jazakallah, thank you very much indeed for that application. Right, the next question we've got is from Brother Adam, and his question is in relation to an extension application. And what he says is as follows. Assalamu alaikum. My wife's visa expires on the 17th of October, so not long to go. Wife's visa expires on the 17th of October. I am in receipt of carer's allowance. What does my income need to be in order to successfully extend my wife's visa in the United Kingdom? Okay, so Adam, it looks like you don't have that much time on your hands. You've said that the visa expires on the 17th of October. And certainly being in receipt of carer's allowance does make your application or wife's application much easier, much more easier to successfully succeed in. Now, you ask about finances. With carer's allowance, you will get £81.90 a week in your hand. Okay, so that helps. Normally, a couple without children need approximately, and I can't remember the figure completely off the top of my head, but it's in the region of £142 or thereabouts. Let's say around £145 a week. If you don't have any children, if there's no rent or council tax to pay. So I'm assuming you and your wife don't have rent or council tax to pay, and I'll come on to the situation where you may have rent or council tax to pay and how that situation differs. But assuming there's no rent or council tax to pay, then it's approximately £145 a week. It's, if you want to check what it is actually an income support rate. So if you go onto the government website and you look at what the income support rates are, it's the income support rate for a couple. It's £145 or thereabouts. It goes up every April. Now, you've already got £81.90 coming in, so there's some money there. Now you need to work out what you're short by. So you're probably short by in the region of about £65 or something in that region. So you would need income of that amount to get to that figure that I've given you, the income support rate for a couple. So in a very basic, simple situation, all you would need is your carer's allowance and a job for something in the region of £65 in order to qualify. It could be that you've got carer's allowance coming in, you've got universal credit coming in, so it could be that you could get away with a lesser amount in salary, or sometimes you can rely on your carer's allowance, your universal credit, and your savings in the region of £3,000–4,000. So in one sense, you're lucky that you are in receipt of carer's allowance. That does make the application much easier than it would normally be the case. But there is still a financial requirement which needs to be fulfilled. So what I would suggest to you is just get some advice from an immigration lawyer in terms of what you need. Carer's allowance on its own won't be enough. You normally need with that a job or savings to top it up. Now, I did say that if your circumstances are a bit different, if, for example, your wife, you both have to pay rent and council tax, or if you've got children, then you will need additional money. Because in the example that I've given, you've got enough money for a couple on their own, but if there are children, you need extra money. If there's council tax, there's rent to pay, there has to be sufficient money coming in to cover that as well. So keep that in mind. It just really does depend on your family circumstances and it also depends on your rent, your council tax, etc. So you need to bear that in mind in terms of the amount of money that you need. But thank you very much for that question. The next question we've got coming in is in relation to a skilled worker application, and that's from Brother Kabir. And what Brother Kabir says is that the company he works for wished to apply for a sponsor license. What is the process and how do you go about it? Brother Kabir, that's a very interesting question. That's quite a not a complicated one, but it will take me a bit of time to explain to you how it works. So Kabir is saying that there's a business that wants to apply for a sponsor license. We're going to be taking a short break shortly, and what I will do after we come back from the break is take you through the process and take you through the kind of documents that you need in order to apply for a sponsor license. So there's a process that you need to follow, and there's also documents that you need to submit as well. It might take me a few minutes to do that, so it might be better if we pick up on this after we come back from our short break. Inshallah, we'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill. Risking lifelong disabilities.
Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well. The same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. This is the second part to the show. Just before the break, we had a question from Brother Kabir, and he was asking a question in relation to a sponsor license application, and in particular, what the process is in order to get a sponsor license, and also what kind of documents need to be submitted with a sponsor license application. The basic situation is that in terms of process, it's reasonably straightforward. The application is made online. It probably takes about half an hour or so to get the application submitted. Once the application is submitted, you then have to submit supporting documents, and I'm going to come on to the kind of documents that you need to submit with your sponsor license application. So it's an online application with a number of supporting documents. Now, once the Home Office receive that, they may approve the application straight away, or they may decide that they want to hold a compliance visit in order to speak to you in relation to the application. It just really depends on them. So you've gone through the process of submitting the online application, and you've also sent them the documents. Now, they could take the view that they want to interview you before making a decision. What I tend to find is that with smaller businesses, they are more likely to conduct an interview. With larger, more established businesses, it's unusual for them to conduct an interview. But in any event, let's work on the basis that you're looking at submitting the application at this stage. So, online process, fairly straightforward. They'll ask you some basic questions. In terms of documentation, sometimes it helps to look at why these documents are being requested. Now, the documents that are requested by the Home Office with your sponsor license application, they're requested because the Home Office wants to see whether you're a genuine trading business or not. That's what they want to look at, and that's the reason they are asking for these documents. So, typical documents that you would submit, certain documents which are very easy to get, every business will have. So, that easy bit. So, for example, your bank statements, that's something which is very every business has that, so you can submit your bank statements. Straightforward. Employer's liability insurance certificate, again, it's actually mandatory. Every business should have that. If you don't have it, again, it's easy to obtain. It depends on the nature of your business. An office, 5-10 employees, their annual employer's liability insurance will probably be in the region of about £300-400. Factories, etc., the liability insurance might be higher, but it's a mandatory requirement. What it does, it protects or insures the employer against any claims that an employee might bring for negligence against the employer. So, a couple of documents most businesses will have straight away, and that is the business bank statement and the employer's liability insurance certificate. The next document is the HMRC document with your PAY reference number, accounts office reference number. Now, again, if you don't have it, you can ask your accountant. They may have a copy, or you can simply ring up HMRC and obtain a copy. It normally takes about 4 or 5 days for them to get a copy to you. Now, so 3 easy documents for you to get hold of. Next, if you're leasing your premises or you own your premises, you can provide evidence of your the premises that you're occupying. So it could be your lease or your title deeds if you own the property. That's evidence that is acceptable to the Home Office as well. It could be that you've got a larger business and you are VAT registered. Again, that is something that you can submit as well. So there you have a certain number of straightforward, simple documents that most people have that you can submit, from your business bank statement to your employer's liability insurance certificate, your HMRC letter with your PAY reference and accounts office reference number, VAT registration document, lease or title deeds. Simple, easy documents that you can get hold of. If you're subject to mandatory registration, so for example, your business is you're a petrol station and you therefore have to have a petroleum license, you'd need to submit that. If you're operating a food business, a restaurant or a takeaway, then you're going to be subject to hygiene inspections, and you'd need to submit evidence of your food rating, your hygiene inspection. It doesn't matter if your food rating is low, but the fact is you need to submit that particular document. So, whole host of documents that you need to submit with your application. And then there, as I said at the outset, it's really just to demonstrate that the business is genuine and trading. That's all that it's there for. Once, as I said, if the Home Office has had a look at those documents, and if they then decide that, okay, this business requires a bit more scrutiny, the Home Office can say, okay, let's hold a compliance interview. And what tends to happen is that the interview doesn't normally take place in person. It's normally a video call that takes place, and normally on Microsoft Teams or a platform like that. And they will conduct an interview and they will ask you questions regarding your regarding the business, regarding your employment practices, regarding your record keeping duties, etc. There's a whole host of questions that they can ask, and the interview takes in the region of about an hour or so, covering everything from the kind of post you're trying to fill to looking at your HR practices in terms of how you recruit, whether you keep the right records or not, whether you send out offer letters, whether you send out contracts, whether you vet employees properly or not. How do you ensure that somebody who doesn't have the right to work isn't working? Are you carrying out the right to work checks? You know, do you have a good understanding of how the system works? Do you pay employees in accordance with the law? So if you are in a situation where you've submitted a sponsor license application, you've submitted your document, and they want to speak to you in a bit of detail, that's the kind of area that they would be interested in asking you questions about. So it just depends. It's in my experience, the vast majority of applications tend to go through without an interview. But you know, it just depends. If you're probably fall into that 10% category where they deem an interview necessary, then it is what it is. You will be subject to an interview. After that, you get a decision. Now, in terms of processing times, in terms of it could be an application which is decided within a week, 2 weeks, if it's straightforward, or it could be that they scrutinize it more closely, they want to hold an interview, and because of that, it takes around about 2 months to get a decision. The Home Office, in relation to these kind of applications, they're not particularly busy at the moment. There was a time, if you go back 5-6 months, around April time, where a huge number of applications were being submitted. After around mid or end of April, the law changed, making it more difficult to recruit skilled workers. Therefore, it's had a knock-on effect on the number of businesses who are wanting to apply for a sponsor license. But that is the basic scenario. If your application for a license is successful, then you will be normally given permission to employ one person from within the UK. Fantastic. If you want to employ somebody from abroad, you will need to make a separate request for that. So with the license, you normally get permission for one person to begin with. If you want to sponsor somebody from abroad, you'd normally have to request separate permission for that. So it's a process whereby the license is applied for, granted first. The next step is permission to employ somebody. And you might have heard reference to certificates of sponsorship, cost, DCOS, etc. That's the second stage, when you're asking for permission for a particular person to be employed, whether that person's in country, whether that person is out of the UK. And when that permission is being granted, you then move on to the third and final stage, where the skilled worker application is submitted, where the employee applies for a visa to come to the United Kingdom based on that permission that's been granted to you to sponsor somebody. That based on that permission, the employee then applies for a skilled worker visa. So that's the process. Quickest, if everything goes smoothly, there's no interviews, there's no real scrutiny, you could find that the application is decided, the whole process from applying for the license to getting the employee employed on your books, you could potentially get it all done within a month if it all goes smoothly. But if it doesn't, if there are hiccups along the way, if there are interviews along the way, if the Home Office is asking questions at the different various stages of this whole process, it could take 4 to 5 months. So that's what you need to bear in mind. Anything from a month to 4 to 5 months. That's what you need to keep in mind when you're going through this process. Now, I hope that sort of explains the position in a bit of detail. If you've got any follow-up questions, please do get in touch and I'll try and address that in greater detail. But Kabir, that I think answers your question. I didn't ask you what type of business you have, but I've tried to give you a sort of an overview in terms of what you need to do. If you're comfortable doing the application yourself, fair enough, go for it. There's a lot of guidance issued by the Home Office or on the government website. If you're not sure, get advice, run your queries by an immigration lawyer. But thank you very much for that. We're taking a short break, inshallah. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill, risking lifelong disabilities.
Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. As always, a popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. MashaAllah, just before the break we had a question from Brother Kabir in relation to sponsor license, and we went through that in a bit of detail. Let's look at the next question that's come in, and that is from Brother Tahir. And Tahir says as follows: my niece's application, which was initially refused, has now been granted on appeal. She went to the tribunal and won the appeal. Can you please explain how long it takes for the visa to be issued? Right, Tahir, thank you very much for that. So this is a an application which was spouse application which was submitted, which was refused, went to an appeal, and the appeal was successful. How long does it take? Now, in my experience, once the appeal is successful, it does still take a good few months for them to issue the visa. So in your mind, have, as an estimate, roughly, it takes about 3 months for them to issue the visa to you. The first step that the Home Office will go through is to inform you that the immigration health surcharge has to be paid. So when the initial application was submitted by the Tahir, what would have happened is the immigration health surcharge would have been paid. When the application was refused, that money would have been refunded. It would have gone back to the card from which the application had been paid. So that money, now that the application which was refused has now been successful on appeal, obviously the immigration health surcharge now needs to be paid. So that's what needs to be done. You can only do that when the Home Office gets round to sending you a link, and they'll send an email to the email that they initially had when the application was submitted. So there should be an email which will allow you to pay that immigration health surcharge, which nowadays is in the region of about £3,300. It might be a bit less because it'll be based for you, because it'll be based on what was initially payable when the initial application was made. But whatever it is, whether it's 2.5K, 3,300, that's what needs to be paid. So the Home Office, after you've won, the Home Office will email you saying, make the payment. Step 2, you've got to make the payment. Step 3, I think they'll tell you once you've made the payment, send us an email, let us know that you've made the payment. Step 4, they will then get back in touch and then ask your partner who's abroad to go and hand his or her passport in at the visa centre where they initially applied. Step 5, just wait for the visa sticker, the vignette, to be placed in the passport, which will allow your partner to then travel to the United Kingdom. It's not unusual for it to take a good few months for the Home Office to even contact you to request the immigration health surcharge to be paid. Keep in mind that this whole process takes in the region of about 3 to 4 months, and it is frustrating because you would have waited for your application to be processed initially. That could have been taken a month, 2 months, whatever it is, if not longer. That's been refused. You might have waited another 9 months for your appeal to be decided. And now, even after you being successful in your appeal, you're still being asked to wait. So it is frustrating, but at least in one sense, you know that the end is near. You know the appeal has been successful. It's just a matter of time before the visa is granted. And I accept the delay doesn't help. It is very frustrating because you've probably been embroiled in this process by this stage for well over a year, probably around the 1.5 year mark, getting the application ready, submitting it, waiting for a decision, appealing it, having a hearing, getting a decision, and now you're waiting for the decision to be implemented. The problem is the implementation process is as slow as the whole process that you've been through, and the delays that you've encountered, no doubt, up until now. Unfortunately, you're going to have to endure that for a little longer. But light at the end of the tunnel, Brother Tahir, in the sense that it will get sorted. You're more or less there. But thank you very much indeed for that question. Next question that's come in is from Adi. And our Adi says is as follows: Assalamu alaikum. I booked a ticket for my sister to go back to India. She's an overstayer. Her application to stay here had been unsuccessful. Does she need to inform the Home Office that she's going back? The short answer is that she doesn't. When you're going back, if you have your passport in your possession, then you can simply book a ticket to your home country and go back. It's not a problem. If, on the other hand, the Home Office has been writing to you, telling you that they're going to take some kind of enforcement action against you, detain you, etc., then fair enough, you could inform them that, look, I booked my tickets, this is when I'm going back. But generally speaking, you don't need to inform the Home Office that you're returning to your home country. There may be occasions when you don't have your passport to hand. Now, if that's the case, then you will need to contact the Home Office and tell the Home Office of your intention to return to your home country. And it may well be that what the Home Office will do is give your passport back to you at the airport. So let's say, for example, you tell the Home Office, look, I'm returning to India next week on Sunday. The Home Office returns preparation team will get the paperwork ready, get your passport to Manchester Airport for that flight on Sunday. When you go there, they'll tell you what to do in order to retrieve your passport. And then you will be able to return to your home country there. So if you have your passport in your possession, you don't need to do anything. You'll be able to go back. If you don't have your passport in your possession, then you're going to have to contact the Home Office, speak to them about your plans to go back, and they will arrange for the passport that they have to be made available at the airport for you to be able to collect it and travel back to your home country. But thank you very much indeed for that. The next question that we've got coming in is from Sister Uzma, and what she says is that her son was born in the United Kingdom. He's had visas to stay in the United Kingdom. I think from what Uzma is saying, the parents don't have UK citizenship or indefinite leave, anything of that nature. What Uzma is saying is, I understand that once my son is 10 years old, he can apply for British citizenship on the basis that he's lived in the UK for 10 years and he was born in the UK. Can you advise on that? That is correct. Where a child is born in the United Kingdom, and the child obviously isn't British because the parents aren't British, the parents don't have indefinite leave to remain, then there is a route by which a child can obtain British nationality, and that is by the child who's born in the United Kingdom waiting till the child reaches the age of 10 and then applying for British citizenship. And the form that's used to make that application is Form T. And with that application, you're basically proving that the child was born in the UK and the child has lived in the UK continuously for 10 years. And it might well be the child may not have a passport, but the way you do it is that they will ask for evidence of birth, which is obviously the child's birth certificate. Here, I think that we still have a system where the health visitor will issue you with a red book, and the red book has a record of visits, vaccinations, etc. I think up until the child is 2 years old. So you'll have the red book, so you can submit a copy of that. You can also submit medical records, so not just a letter from the Home Office, medical records, which sort of confirms when you've taken the child to the GP in order to get the child seen. It might be for vaccinations, it might be for any illnesses, etc. But there's a record there, and each time the child goes, there's a record there that proves that the child was in the UK. So you've got the birth certificate, the red book, the child's medical records, And from the age of 4 or 5, when the child starts nursery, reception, school, etc., you can get a letter from that institution, whether it's nursery or a school, confirming that the child attended school. So that's how you prove the child's birth in the United Kingdom. And that's how you prove that the child has lived in the United Kingdom for 10 years. So that's how you go about it. But you're completely right, Uzma, that there is a route by which a child that has no status or has limited status can get British nationality at the age of 10, born in the UK, lived in the UK for 10 years, they can qualify for British nationality or register themselves as British based on that. There is a fee to pay for that. If you find that the fee is too much and you can't afford the fees, it is possible, as far as children are concerned, it is possible to apply for a fee waiver for the Home Office fees for the child's nationality application. So that's possible as well. But thank you very much indeed for that question. If you're not sure about anything else, please do get in touch and we can have a look at that in greater detail. And in my experience, these are relatively straightforward cases. You get a decision normally within about 3 months or so. There's not even much of a long wait for these type of applications. But fantastic. Thank you very much for that question. Now that takes us to our next break. Inshallah, we'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill, risking lifelong disabilities.
Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's? Are we made of money?
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. This is the final part of the show. Thank you very much for all the questions that have been coming in. Just going through some of the last few questions that have been coming in. Next question that's coming is from Brother Rizwan, and he says, do we need a sponsor license to employ a person who is on a graduate visa for our masjid? To be honest, been contacted by a number of mosques who wish to employ an imam. I think maybe it's because with the skilled worker visa route becoming quite popular over the last couple of years, there's more of an awareness now about the possibility of bringing in people from abroad for the position of Imam, Minister of Religion, as the Home Office call it. Or it could be for a teacher, an Islamic teacher. Now, if you have somebody who's in the UK, they're on a graduate visa, fine. The graduate visa, as you might know, are actually quite limited. They're the visas that you go on after you've come to the UK from abroad and you've graduated. If you've successfully graduated, whether you've got a master's or whether you've got a first degree, once you've successfully graduated, you would then be able to go on to the graduate visa for 2 years. Now, it is a visa which does have an end. After 2 years, you can't extend the graduate visa. You'd have to switch into something else. So the basic question is this, Rizwan, the person that you're talking about, the person who's here on a graduate visa, yes, you can employ the person. Whilst the person is on a graduate visa, there's no restrictions. They can work for you as an imam, a minister of religion. That's not a problem. Now, if you want to continue employing this person after the graduate visa comes to an end, then the way to do it is to register the mosque, get a sponsor license for the mosque, and register the mosque with the Home Office. Earlier in the show, I was talking about how a business can register itself in order to employ migrant workers. Likewise, a mosque, which is not a business, it can, as an employer, register itself with the Home Office in order to employ migrant workers. And it could be for a minister of religion, it could be an Islamic teacher, it could be for a religious worker. So a number of different types of sponsorship can be utilized depending on what your needs are. I think mosques are obviously mainly, they have to be registered as a charity as far as the Home Office is concerned, and then you could potentially call somebody as a charity worker as well if there's some charitable tasks that the mosque also carries out in addition to running the mosque and the madrasa. So the system is there. It can be done. You can employ an imam or a teacher using the sponsor license, minister of religion, skilled worker route. So it's possible. And when you do make that application, then you would normally have to submit various documents. We've gone through some of them. In terms of a mosque, there are certain documents which other organizations won't have. So a mosque will have what they call a Form 76, which is proof of registration of the place as a place of worship. So there'll be a Form 76 that you will need. You would also need to be registered with the Charities Commission before you would be granted a sponsor license. Now, they're normally the two specific types of documents that you would need in order to apply for a sponsor license for a mosque, a place of worship. And then you can use that to sponsor somebody as an imam or as a religious teacher. But thank you very much, Rizwan, for that question. Next question that's come in is from Sabina, and what she says is, can a person come on a skilled worker visa to the United Kingdom if the business is in Scotland? The question is, there's a cafe in Scotland, owner of the cafe wants to sell it, somebody wants to buy the business and potentially come to the United Kingdom as a skilled worker, as an operator of that business. The specific question is in relation to Scotland. Can a person come to the United Kingdom on a skilled worker visa if the business is in Scotland? And the short answer to that is yes, there's no problem at all. The scheme that we have in terms of sponsoring people is the same, whether it's in England, Wales or Scotland. The scheme is the same. And it's the same application that you make. The same rules will apply. The same processes will apply. It will in fact go to the same place for it to be processed. So yes, in answer to your question, yes, you can apply for a sponsor license. You can apply for a skilled worker visa based on a business which is actually located not in England but in Scotland. But thank you very much indeed for that question. Now we've had a number of questions on skilled workers coming in. Brother Raj is asking a question. He says he's on a skilled worker visa. Can he work 20 hours in a restaurant if I'm on a skilled worker visa? Yes, potentially you can. Now, if you're in the UK with a skilled worker visa, there is additional work that you can do, supplementary employment that you can undertake. There are certain conditions which need to be fulfilled for that. One is that if you're the main applicant, you must still, skilled worker, you must still be employed in your current employment. So if you're in your current job, you can potentially undertake supplementary work. Now there are certain conditions which need to be satisfied in respect of supplementary work. One is that it can't exceed 20 hours a week. So that's the max you can work. You can't work more than 20 hours a week. And that work that you do must be outside your normal working hours for the job that you are sponsored in. I mean, that makes sense. If your sponsored work is Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, then your supplementary work, it can't be the same hours. It can be in the evening or it can be weekends. So it's got to be outside your normal working hours. And the last condition is that it can't be any work. It's got to be skilled work. So it doesn't have to be the same work that you've been sponsored to come to the United Kingdom for. It has to be skilled work. So in a restaurant, if, you've given the example, Raj, of a restaurant. So in a restaurant, you can come to work as a chef. That's skilled work. But you couldn't come to work as somebody who is just on the front desk greeting people as they came in. So very basic duties won't qualify, or somebody who's just a waiter, waitress. Basic duties won't qualify for skilled work, and therefore, as far as your supplementary work is concerned, if that's what you're doing, you're not allowed. So there's 4 conditions, Raj, I've referred to in terms of you as a skilled worker wanting to come to the United Kingdom and to undertake supplementary work. 4 conditions. Number 1, you must be employed in the job that you've been sponsored to do. So you can't stop working there and just start doing supplementary work. It doesn't work like that. You must be employed in the job that you've been sponsored for. Number 1. Number 2, the work that you do has to be limited to 20 hours. Not more than that, 20 hours a week. Number 3, it has to be outside your normal working hours. And I've given you an example of that. And number 4, which is the most important, because you'll find that yes, you're doing your main job. Yes, you are working, your supplementary work will be 20 hours and no more. Yes, it'll be outside your normal hours. It might be on the evenings or weekends. But number 4, the work that you're doing has to be skilled work. And the Home Office has a category of what is skilled work. As long as it falls within the definition of skilled work, you're fine. You can do it. If it falls outside the definition of skilled work because it's too basic, then you can't do it. But in a nutshell, that is what the basic position is. Now, the next question that we've got is from Sister Anisa, and it's regarding a visit visa. And what she says is that in relation to my cousin who we wish to sponsor, who can be a sponsor? Does it have to be a family member, or can it be a friend? Right, that's a very, hopefully an easy, straightforward question. As far as sponsorship is concerned, for a visit visa, in my experience, it helps if it's a close family member, like a brother, sister, son, daughter, grandchild, etc., sponsoring the person to come to that. I think it's always easier when it's a family visit and there's a very good reason why they're coming. It's to elderly people or relatives coming to see you, and the sponsor is from a family member. But in reality, the law doesn't restrict it to that. Law, as far as the rules are concerned, what they're looking at is when the person comes here, have they got somewhere to stay? They're not going to be a burden on the state. So yes, in answer to your question, it doesn't have to be family. It can be friends who sponsor a person from abroad. The key thing is they're taking responsibility for the person's accommodation and maintenance. That's the key thing. But thank you very much, Sister Anisa, for that question. Inshallah, we've had loads of questions coming in. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for that. That brings us to the end of the show. Inshallah, we'll be back at the same time next week.